Hello, everyone, and welcome to our debut episode of Before the Bell. I am your host, Terrence Warf. An exciting debut episode we have for you. It's going to be incredible. A special guest all the way from the wrestling capital of the world, from Grind City. Dustin Starr, one of the hosts of Championship Wrestling from Memphis, is here. We're going to talk about his program and some upcoming events that are going to be there in Memphis, how you can check it out every single week on CW30 and YouTube. Dustin, good to have you on.
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, congratulations on the brand new podcast. And, thanks for allowing me to be the very first guest. I would say it's a 5-star guest, right?
That's exactly why you were at the top of my list. Is like, if it's going to be any kind of rating, any kind of starred system, it's got to be a 5-star grade. So
there you go.
Hey, I appreciate you making time out of your busy schedule and taking time away from your family to talk Championship Wrestling. For those of you who've been living under a rock, why don't you take a minute to introduce yourself? Tell everybody who you are in the program that you're currently running on CW30.
Oh, man. I tell you, my phone has been blowing up for more now than ever before. It feels like I'm busier than ever. And it's all because Memphis Wrestling is back. Oh, yeah. So super, super, super excited that on February the 14th, Valentine's Day, which that's because we love Memphis Wrestling, we launched our very first television tapings. Of course, we've been syndicating the Championship Wrestling from Hollywood program. Myself and my Maria hosted that for about 2 years. And to fast forward, the whole idea was to proof of concept, let the TV station know that people still watch professional wrestling in Memphis, Tennessee. Fast forward 2 years, we had our 100th episode, and that ended up being the premiere and the very first episode of Memphis Wrestling. So that's what I've been doing. Of course, I do a whole lot of other things in the Memphis area, working with various sports teams and such. But professional wrestling has been my passion. It's what I've always wanted to do since I was 5 years old. Started training when I was 15. I just called the phone number off the television, off Power Pro Wrestling. And that's how it all started for me. But, man, it has been an awesome, crazy winding road from that, 20-plus years ago. And things that I never thought that I would be doing that I learned along the way just through osmosis, just being around it and absorbing it, I'm putting to use now on Championship Wrestling from Memphis. So, and also, man, it's super, super cool to have you, the voice, for those 2 years. You voiced over a lot of commercials. You were literally the other voice, other than myself and Maria. You were the voice of Championship Wrestling presented by Pro Shingle. And so when the opportunity came up, I know you tried to retire on me.
I did.
That wasn't going to work. And I said, man, if there's going to be anybody that's ring announcing for us or doing backstage interviews, it's got to be T-Bone Terrence Warf. And so we're super excited to have you. And then also with this podcast, you can tell some behind-the-scenes stories. So that's cool.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And it's exciting to see for the first time in 15 years, pro wrestling return on a regular basis to Memphis television. I aired a bonus episode before our debut episode here, just to kind of get everything established, get it on Apple Podcasts and Google and Spotify, etc. My interview with Lance Russell back in 2015, and I think both of us can agree. You've probably worked with Lance longer and had so many other great memories with him when he was still living, but I think both of us can agree. He would be very proud to see what's in Memphis today, the wrestling program, the guys and gals who are stepping up to fill some pretty big shoes, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt about it. I don't care what anybody says. If they say otherwise, that's 100% accurate. Lance Russell would be absolutely proud of what's going on right now in Memphis. Luckily, later on in his life, I would say probably 10 years or so ago, I ran into Lance Russell in Pensacola.
Oh, wow.
And me and Maria, we were on vacation, and his wife was still living as well, and we were in a subway. And I looked over, and I said, Maria, I think that's Lance Russell. And she said, who? She said, who? And I almost left her right then and there. But,
I wouldn't have blamed you.
I got another look, and I said, oh, my gosh, I've got to go say hello to Lance Russell. And Maria knew it was somebody very, very special. She grew up in pageants, not necessarily the wrestling world, but she knew it had to be somebody special because I don't act like that. I
Yeah.
don't really mark out or pop, for seeing somebody out in the store. But when I walked over and said Lance Russell, his wife laughed and said, "Oh my Lord." And he got up and took a picture with me and was just super friendly. And then fast forward a couple of years later, we were able to become friends and do interviews. And he even called one of my matches on Memphis Wrestling, but we were able to work together and become friends. Friends with Shane Russell, his son,
Great guy.
who's reached out to us. Yeah, absolutely. He's reached out to us since we launched the show. So I think it's safe to say that Lance would absolutely be proud. I know that Dave Brown's kind of excited about it too. But then also there's a lot of pressure there because me and my Maria, we're the commentators on the show. So, in the back of my mind, it's wow, we've got some big shoes to follow.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was a long time ago, so there's a new audience. But man, that was one of my biggest fears is following Lance and Dave. And I was a big fan of Corey Macklin too, but we were fortunate enough to become friends with Lance, in the later years of his life, last 10 years or so. And I do think that he would be thrilled. And I also think he would be a guest on the show as well if the opportunity came up.
Absolutely. And we've seen Dave Brown. If you've been watching the program, which, by the way, you can watch Championship Wrestling live on YouTube. It premieres every single week on Championship Wrestling on YouTube at high noon Central Standard Time. And you can pick it up also on CW30 in the Memphis market, if you can pick those up on cable satellite providers, as well as over-the-air digital airways these days, I should say. I'm so old, I think about analog, and I have to be careful saying rabbit ears.
Yeah.
But you can pick that up on CW30 live every single Saturday at high noon Central Standard Time there in the Memphis market. But you've had Dave Brown on some of the commercials that aired during the program.
Yeah, so our title and presenting sponsor at the time, and who we're still very much partnered with right now, Pro Shingle, a professional roofing company. Big shout out to them. This isn't a cheap plug, but they really do love Memphis wrestling, and we would not be here without Pro Shingle. So cheap plug for them is proshingle.com. They're licensed in Tennessee, Mississippi, and Arkansas. So if you can throw some business their way, that would be great. But there was the idea of incorporating Memphis wrestling and roofing and storm damage and the weather as it rains outside where I am right now. And just the idea came up of, hey, that would be perfect tag team. And so when I spoke to one side about it, they were excited. I spoke to the other side about it. They were excited. And so we linked them together. And that's been a partnership since day one of Championship Wrestling from Memphis, is having Dave Brown be the official spokesperson for Pro Shingle. So myself and Maria, we also are spokespersons for Pro Shingle and do their commercials. But Dave Brown's the man. He is the man. He is a very recognizable and trustworthy individual in the Memphis market. So that's been a partnership that's been gangbusters. But you can see him. We have the Slam of the Week. So the funny thing is, the Pro Shingle Slam of the Week, if it's a bad guy like slamming one of the good guys, and the bad guy's like, yeah, Dave Brown approves. Yeah, okay.
That's great. And that's got to be, I know we're going to talk about the program that's coming up on April the 11th here in the next couple of days for the next TV taping, I should say. We'll also talk about the April. I don't know why I'm saying February. I guess I'm stuck on that Valentine's Day reference earlier.
That was our launch. Yeah, man.
The April the 10th show coming up. We'll discuss that here in just a minute. But I want to hit one more time on Dave Brown being a part of the program. What's anything you can share about Dave Brown's opinion on the show, or has he watched it? I mean, I know he's been a part of it through commercial advertising, but has he watched it? What's his thoughts on it?
I'm not really sure. When Dave and I talk, it's, just business. And I know that he recently did an interview that we scheduled with Local 24. So he's very active with some of the things that we're doing. But I haven't taken that step to invite Dave, to the show or to be a guest on the show just yet. But I would imagine that it's coming pretty soon. We've got some more steps that we want to take as far as us being a company and finding our permanent home, which is coming very, very soon, if it hasn't already come before this podcast drops. And I think once we get everything solidified, there's a lot of names that are being thrown out there and a lot of guests that people want to see, but we're still so very young. Once we get solidified, the gloves are coming off. Anything can happen.
And that's
So,
exciting. I mean, I remember
oh
growing
yeah,
up. I remember growing up watching, Memphis wrestling when Corey Macklin was a big piece of that, and Jerry the King Lawler was a big piece of that. Even going back to the Power Pro days, I remember watching that. So, just as a fan, sitting back on a Saturday and watching actual wrestling from Memphis, featuring Memphis talent on Memphis television, is just it's like a piece of nostalgia that is just it's hard to describe.
yeah. Fortunately, there's a lot of other people that feel the same way. When we put the announcement out there and we put the tickets on sale, we sold out of our first round of tickets in a day and a half or less. Now, I will tell you that, as you know as well as I do, we're at 25% capacity, so we're able to sell
Right.
about 100 tickets. But selling 100 tickets out in a day or less is fantastic. So the response has been great. This weekend's television tapings on April 11th has been sold out for about a month. And we've had people that are saying, man, how do I get my hands on tickets? They sell so quickly. We look forward to putting those May tickets on sale very, very soon. And hopefully we'll have more tickets available, more seats available. We'll have a bigger space. Hopefully we still have the same problem of running out of tickets. That's
Right.
always a good problem to have. But people sometimes think it's a sales pitch to say, you better get those tickets because they're going to go fast. Well, this is for real. They do go really fast. So we've done all that we could do to try to get some more tickets released. And as of right now, with the capacity restrictions, and we have a pretty big crew, Terrence.
Right.
You've been there. I mean, it's not just the wrestlers. I mean, we've got a production team that's, 4 or 5 camera operators, a director. You've got your agents backstage. Gosh, it's a lot bigger of a production than a lot of people. Even Derek King, of all people, after the first tapings, he said, "Man, that was a little more than what I expected."
Oh yeah.
So, well, what did you expect? He said, "Man, I don't know. I didn't expect that. I mean, we have the truck out in the parking lot, the whole 9 yards now. So
It's a
this is the real
100%
deal,
legit.
man."
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I think most people that are watching the show, and I think you would agree as well, critiquing the show and giving feedback is always welcomed. I mean, that's always
Yes.
helping people grow. Obviously, trolling is something that anybody would be like, you need to go somewhere else. But
Yeah.
good constructive critiquing, good constructive feedback is always welcomed. And looking at the show, seeing how things are going, you've been on television a heck of a lot more than I ever thought about. But we both worked together back in 2010 and did some television work together. And I got to say, by far, today's standards, I think this is an amazing program. I've learned more, believe it or not, in the last couple of filming episodes that I did the 3 years that we did TV just across the river in Arkansas. So for those.
Yes, hey, we've done a lot of TV, Terrence. We've done TV together. Me and Maria are on probably 3 times an hour, every hour on CW30. But this was the very first time that we've ever literally hosted an hour television program from start to finish and calling all the action. So what you're seeing in these first several weeks or first couple of months of Memphis wrestling is basically the first time we've ever done that.
Yeah.
And so we're learning on the fly just like everybody else, but man, it's like a duck to water. Once the action starts, man, let's go. It's been so much fun, and I've got to say, I never ever know what my Maria's going to say next.
I love it. I love the chemistry.
So that's been pretty fun.
I love the chemistry. And, you and Maria, just to clear things up, fans who may be listening to this podcast, Maria and Dustin are married. This is not a television appearance, for them two to be standing next together and having a similar last name or the same last name. Maria and Dustin actually are married. They have a brand new baby, which is just as cute as a bug.
Yeah.
Little mini 5-star, and of course we can't forget your son as well. He's been I think to every wrestling show. Your oldest boy has been to every wrestling show I've ever seen you in. So
man, he's almost 13 now, and he's got a mustache.
Gosh, more facial hair than I can grow, and I'm 31.
More facial hair than me. And then of course you've got Reese the Beast. He's 5 months old. He's 15 pounds. He's just growing like crazy. And then meanwhile we're launching a wrestling show and working from home, and there's so much different stuff in the world nowadays. And It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun, but it's a learning experience, especially, looking for buildings and getting leases and insurance and new wrestling rings and lights. And oh my gosh, it's been so much stuff. But like I said, just learning and seeing all this stuff happen throughout the years, and working in the WWE developmental territory really helped too, because you see real live on how they do it back there. And also the United Wrestling Network with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, they've been in business for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So I've been to some of their televisions and see how it runs. And I think ours is running pretty smooth. But once we get our own facility, you'll see that get even tighter.
Dustin, we're going to take a quick break to thank some of our sponsors, as well as plug Championship Wrestling coming this Saturday. A new television episode coming this Saturday, April the 10th. You can check that out, CW30 at high noon Central Standard Time, or on YouTube. Same time, just different place. We'll be back right after this. More with Dustin Starr and Championship Wrestling from Memphis. Have you heard about Anchor? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. That's it. It's absolutely free. There are creation tools that allow you to record your podcast and edit it as well, right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and so many more. Sign up today at anchor.fm.
Hello, everybody. This is your buddy King Cobra. I have some great news for you. Memphis Wrestling is back. Catch it every Saturday at noon right here on CW30, Memphis.
All right, welcome back to Before the Bell. I'm Terrence Ward, your host. If you're just joining us, I don't know how. It's a podcast, unless you forwarded halfway through this episode. But if you are just joining us for some odd reason and you're just now paying attention, we have Dustin 5-Star, one of the hosts of Championship Wrestling from Memphis, CW30 Wrestling on Instagram, and of course, championshipwrestlingmemphis.com. Dustin, thank you so much for joining us. An amazing look into how things are going into Championship Wrestling, how they got there, and some background on you and your lovely Maria and your family. But you got to tell us what's going on in Championship Wrestling. What are some of the rivalries that are being established? What are some of the matches that have taken place?
Well, you're in the line of fire back there pretty much every single week. There's somebody getting knocked out during your interview, or somebody interrupting an interview, or something's always going on. But I think the biggest story that we've had so far was the culmination of the Cobra Cup. And when Bret Michaels was awarded the Cobra Cup from King Cobra himself, Cobra, the whole idea was, shake Bret's hand, raise his hand, and step aside and let the young man have his spotlight, and unfortunately, Alan Steele and Johnny Dotson made their debut, and this was just a couple of weeks back, attacked Bret, and they literally destroyed the trophy that Bret had won. So first and foremost, that thing is going on. And Bret Michaels has been crazy with a baseball bat looking for Alan Steele and Johnny Dotson since then. And, King Cobra's not too happy about it either. And then just last week, we saw Nikki Lane slap Derek King right in the face. But it was deserved because Derek kicked some dirt in Nikki's face a little bit after they cheated. And you'd have to go back and watch the episode. But Austin Lane hit the ring. So the first appearance of the best Austin Lane. And hey, man, I know where he's coming from with this, because if you put your hands on my Maria, all the rules are out the window. And that's what Derek did. Derek put his hands on Nikki, and, Austin has been working as a backstage agent and producer for Championship Wrestling from Memphis. But that doesn't mean that he's retired. That's like me. Just because I'm sitting at the desk, don't let the suit and tie fool you. I'll tear the suit and tie off and whoop somebody when I need to. And that's what Austin Lane did. So, man, there's a lot of great stuff that's brewing. And this weekend, you won't see it on television this weekend. It'll be around May when you actually see it hit television. But if you have tickets for our April 11th live television tapings, you're going to see us crown our very first Memphis Heritage Champion. So that'll be cool.
I am excited for that. It's a true through and through Memphis title. I mean, what better way to pay respects to the boots that have been laced up before them, such as, I don't even know where to start from the
Oh
amount
gosh,
of Memphis
yeah.
performers that have paved the way, and to honor them through a heritage championship. That's going to mean something to somebody who is crowned that champion, and I can't wait.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
excited. I'm shaking literally thinking about the multiple possibilities of
Yeah.
who could be crowned that championship title.
And you're going to be the one to announce the winner.
Yeah.
So think of that. Think of that sound bite that's going to play in history.
Yeah.
No
pressure.
If you think about it, Corey Macklin's Memphis Wrestling, how many years did that last? 5 years, 4
Yeah.
years? And Power Pro, probably around the same, 3-4 years, something like that. We've already been going strong for 2 years, and the Memphis Wrestling product just launched. So if we can maintain some longevity, this will be the next chapter, literally, in Memphis Wrestling history. And those folks that watch now will be talking about us, hopefully, similar ways that they talk about the Lawlers and Dundees and Cobras and Jimmy Valiants and stuff like that. So this championship really will mean something. I get asked all the time, well, why didn't you do the Southern Heavyweight title? Why don't you use the old school theme music? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do this? We're not trying to recreate what we had.
Right.
They've always had a Southern Heavyweight title. I wanted to do something new. We don't want to play the same theme song because we're not the same show. We have a brand new Memphis Wrestling, a brand new championship that's all paying respects to those that paved the way for us. So this is a new show. This is not like, I know we say Memphis Wrestling is back, but yeah, that's because we're back on television. But we're basically have a brand new show based off the history and the heritage of Memphis Wrestling. So what better than to have a Memphis Heritage Championship? And it is a beautiful title. It's got the Mid-South Coliseum on one of the plates. On one of the other plates, it has the bridge, and then also the pyramid in Memphis. United Wrestling Network plates. If you haven't seen it, it'll definitely be online. We've tried to keep the spoilers to a minimum. It's really hard to do in today's day and age.
I didn't help.
But, well, yeah, you were one of the first ones to post a picture, but that was all cool. That's just how it is,
But hey, that is more enticing. If you saw those pictures, I mean, that is more of an enticement to say, I need to see that thing in person, because pictures don't do it justice. When you see the shine of those lights off of the metal of that title belt, it's something to behold. It does not justify it on a picture. You have to be there in person.
At our March 7th taping, I wanted to do something special for the live audience. Something that the TV audience wouldn't see. And you always have those little hidden Easter eggs when you show up and see us live. And that was one of the things, as I promised everybody, we will show you. We will reveal the Memphis Championship. We will reveal what it looks like. You'll see it. You'll know the name of it. And immediately when I stepped in the ring, before I showed the title, the people were already cheering. So the championship is a big deal, and I look forward to seeing who the first winner is going to be. And who knows? Hey, who knows? Maybe I'll leave the broadcast booth. You can fill in for me, right?
Hey, I will not turn down an opportunity to jump on commentary. I can assure you that. But
if you see me hit the ring, and you jump in there with Maria, no questions asked.
I would pay good money to see Dustin Starr lace up his boots again and step into that squared circle in some capacity.
How much?
I'll pay in Russian rubles. Those are cheaper to get. No. Well, speaking of such, we do have a Russian on the roster with Championship Wrestling, Meklikov, and one of the powerhouses, along with Bret Michaels. And as you mentioned with Alan Steele and that rivalry between Bret Michaels and Alan Steele and Johnny Dotson, there's some pretty big guys on this roster, and they have really shown out in a good way on the programming of the strength, the ability to wrestle, showing off their movesets, some high action too. The tag team division, good Lord.
Oh man, I mean, I'm telling you, and these guys you're talking about are super young. I'm talking in their early 20s.
Yeah.
The Russell twins, they jump out at me just immediately. The Young Goats. Now, I'll be honest, just like anybody else, I was thinking the Young Goats. Man, let me tell you, there's not a more exciting tag team than the Young Goats. I like the Skimmerhorns. They kind of have that sleaziness about them. They're always pulling something dirty and tricky backstage. And then who can forget the Crowleys? All you have to do is see the Crowleys one time, and you can't forget about those guys. But, yeah, you mentioned Meklikov. He is definitely one of the favorites. to be the first ever Memphis Heritage Champion. And I'll say it, we've already made the announcement on March the 7th to that live audience. So a little fun here for everybody that's listening that wasn't there is we're going to do a Grind City Rumble. So it will be an open invitation. So there's going to be some other athletes and men and women that you haven't seen on our roster before, because it's an open invitation. We want the very best of the best to enter this thing so we can crown the best champion, So just because you don't see them on the show right now or in the coming weeks doesn't mean that they're not with us. So stay tuned.
So tell me, where can our listeners check out the full roster of Championship Wrestling from Memphis?
Well, if you go to championshipwrestlingmemphis.com, that's a good start. There's a roster section, so it'd be championshipwrestlingmemphis.com/roster. We keep that updated pretty frequently. We do get a lot of traffic to the website, so that's a good thing. That's why we got to keep on top of it. I know a lot of people use their website. It's just there to have it, but we try to make sure that there's some information there, that you could use, like our training center. So we announced that we have a new training center that's going to be opening up. We're now enrolling. We have a few students already registered for May. King Cobra, the Memphis wrestling legend, will be our head coach, along with Alan Steele, Derek King, myself, and then, of course, my Maria. So we train everything from professional wrestlers to referees, ring announcers. So watch out, Terrence. Broadcasters. And the cool thing is you get to learn television.
Yes.
It's not just taking bumps. You get to learn television on television days. And those are so valuable because there's not another place that you can really get that kind of training. And then also T-shirts. We have Superstar T-shirts. You can go to championshipwrestlingmemphis.com/store, and you can find everybody from Big Swole Justin Cole to Austin Lane. I think Precious even has a T-shirt, DJ Brown. So most of the roster have T-shirts available. And then also we have some classic stuff on there. We've got everybody from Jackie Fargo to Tojo Yamamoto. And I know that we have some King Cobra T-shirts that are going to launch very soon for those diehard, classic Memphis wrestling fans. And most importantly, though, is if you've missed any of the episodes, you can watch them in full for free. So it's youtube.com/championship wrestling. And YouTube is a very, very fun platform where you can go live and people are very interactive. You mentioned it earlier in the live chat. Man, they are just diehard wrestling fans.
Oh, for sure.
And typically we don't have any trolls in there. And what we mean by trolls is those that are just make silly comments and trying to get everybody riled up. You know what happens when they come into the room? We just throw them over the top row. Right. They're out of there. But we'll have a couple of hundred fans on there each week watching and chatting with us. And then those that miss it, they go back and, gosh, man, there's just so much interaction on YouTube. We just hit over 10,000 subscribers.
Wait, what was you said you can't just gloss over that. That's name any independent wrestling promotion in the Mid-South that has 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. That's huge.
Yeah, man, we're very proud of it. There's a lot of hard work that goes into that, and I could attribute that to pandemic time, man. When the pandemic, kept me in the house for those couple of months or whatever, where we weren't able to leave, I did some research, and of course, you mentioned Brady earlier, my 13-year-old, he's almost 13, and he wanted to be a YouTuber, and I said, all right, well, check this out. So we remember posting videos at the very beginning that just seemed to go in a black hole, there wasn't very much interaction. And then you fast forward a year and a half later, stuff started picking up. And then now it's just crazy. We had over 1 million minutes watched in the last 28 days.
Cow.
And that's just a Memphis wrestling that's, how many weeks old are we now when this podcast drops? 8 weeks old or so?
Yeah,
7 weeks old? Yeah. So we're very, very proud of that. But there's a lot of hard work that goes into it behind the scenes. But then also the performers, the producers, the camera guys getting the right shots and being able to get us that footage to put on there. So if you haven't seen the show, check it out. But then also keep in mind that the show will change. You'll see the different looks. And you saw a black ring mat, then you saw a red ring mat. Well, that's not going to be our final look either. So coming soon, you'll see the final polished product. And I think it's going to be something that, if you're not into us now, then you will be into us soon.
Absolutely. Well, we're running out of time here. We've got just a minute or two left. Dustin, where can they check out Championship Wrestling on social? We've already talked about YouTube and, of course, the television station CW30 Memphis to watch that every Saturday at high noon. But where can they follow along on social? Championship Wrestling from Memphis. How can they find that?
Very, very easy. All of our social handles are at CW30 Wrestling. We typically use the hashtag Memphis Wrestling. I'm at Dustin Starr, and I got to plug my Maria or she's going to get on to me. It's at the Maria Starr. But for the most part, man, you can get everything that you need from the website or from our social media channels at CW30 Wrestling. So we really look forward to making this big announcement that's coming up that will start in May. But first and foremost, we have a big TV taping this weekend that I cannot wait for.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. It is going to be a crazy month. It's going to be a crazy amount of action. Check out CW30 Wrestling on Instagram, on YouTube. You can check them out every Saturday at high noon for that live premiere, also on CW30 in Memphis. So check it out, Championship Wrestling from Memphis. It's going to be a crazy couple of weeks. I can't wait for the Memphis Heritage Champion to be crowned. Dustin, thank you so much for appearing on our debut episode right here on Before the Bell. Dustin, thanks again, man.
Hey, thank you, brother. Oh, yeah!